63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and more than half of Americans earning between $100,000 to $150,000 also live paycheck to paycheck. And we also see stories of lottery winners and athletes who have millions of dollars but then go broke. So this tells us that more money is not always the answer. A few years ago, when I was 24, I was able to leave my day job. My brother just left his day job, and I know a bunch of other people who have done the same. Now, escaping the rat race is hard, but it's not complicated. It's not impossible. Almost anybody can achieve it. You just need to know a few things that unfortunately they don't teach you in school. I realized that if I wanted to leave my 9 to 5, I couldn't just continue trading time for money, which is what most people encourage you to do. What I really didn't know at that time was that money wasn't equal to the time spent working. Now in school, we spend a lot of time working on projects, studying, and taking tests to try to get the best results that we can. And I think this really installs in us that hard work equals better results. While that's true in many cases, I think another thing a lot of people don't think about with money is the opportunity cost that goes along with earning it and pretty much everything about it. Like while you're working on a project, you could have spent that same time maybe looking for new clients or networking, and most people really never consider that. They waste hours every day doing miscellaneous things that don't really add anything to the bottom line. Because you're saying yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to something else, and that is costing you money that you could have earned.
I had to get away from the average employee friend group that I was hanging out with and go sit myself with other people who are choosing not to drink, choosing not to be happy hour heroes, but were choosing to work in the afternoons and sometimes on the weekends, be able to make a better life for their family. I'm going to stay inside, watch these educational videos, stay on my courses, because I know that this is what wealthy people do. I had to make the sacrifice. And if you don't make the sacrifice, unfortunately, you might end up still having that broke or poor mentality. I completely was utilizing weekends as a way for me to catch up on sleep and my tiredness. And all it did was it made me more tired, and it made me feel like my dreams and who I was meant to become was just getting further and further away. Poor people waste their weekends like I used to waste my weekends. I used to play video games too. I used to rip all the college football games on a Saturday and just sit on my couch. I don't have no more rest days. What I care about means so much to me that I would never give myself another rest day on a Saturday or a Sunday where I'm not going to the gym, where I'm not working on my business, and I'm not turning around and filming a video like this where I can change somebody's life. I had to get rid of the poor and mediocre behavior that was leaving me poor. And one of the things that I had to adopt was no longer wasting my weekends. I'm going to encourage you to start adopting new traits, and including spending more time with the right type of people who want to do things like work out, film videos, turn around and start business ideas, because these are the people that are going to help lift you out of the poor and broke state that you're currently in.
We are generally paid for creating value of some sort. So if we want to up how much we're earning, we also need to up how much value we are creating for people. So you got to think about, how can you create value for others? When I create my YouTube videos, the first thing I really look at is, what can I do to give them most value that I possibly can inside a short period of time. And then I go through and I learn as much as I possibly can and think about and study that subject. I've also spent hundreds of hours taking classes and really trying to perfect my craft. In turn, more people have watched my stuff, like a lot more people. These videos honestly take an insane amount of work up front, but they continue to pay me pretty much indefinitely, which happens with a ton of different businesses that people have. Once you create this legwork, once you put in all the work learning this skill, you'll make more money pretty much indefinitely as long as you're using that skill.
I used to be surrounded by a lot of people who always said, "You can't do that here. You can't become this. That's not meant for you." I was around a lot of people that believed I was not meant to become an NFL athlete, that I was not meant to become an internet phenom teaching tax strategies, that I was not meant to have wealth, that I was not meant to have a big house, that I was not meant to have nice cars. I was surrounded by other people that told me those are only reserved for celebrities. Those are only reserved for top NFL athletes. Those are only reserved for the kids that went to Harvard, Yale, or USC. You know what happens when you start hanging around with people who tell you that you're not capable of having something? You start developing this image in your head that you're not meant to have something. And you know what ends up happening? You start going through life thinking, you know what? That's actually never meant for me. I'm not actually meant to have those things. And you end up living a mediocre life instead of an extraordinary life. And I don't think God put us on this earth to live a mediocre life. In order to break this mentality and this mindset in an environment where you're surrounded by a bunch of non-believers, a bunch of people who don't believe that they're meant to go and accomplish anything in life, you know what you have to do? You have to start visualizing your future self. And this is not talked about enough by entrepreneurs. And I wish some of these bigger entrepreneurs could say this, but I would tell you that these entrepreneurs that you guys look up to, we visualize who we thought we were going to become. I visioned all of this in my head. I knew that I wanted to wear suits one day. I knew I wanted to be in shape. I knew I wanted to speak on camera. I knew I wanted to talk with proper language and speak articulate. This is all things I visualized. I was visualizing it once a day. And you know when I chose to visualize it? I chose to visualize it during the morning when I was working on myself at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, when no one else was competing for my time, when I wasn't worried about how I was going to fulfill on the orders for my boss when I got into work at 8 a.m., when I wasn't worried about all of the decisions that I made in the past that got me to where I was at that current moment. I wasn't thinking about the past. I was thinking about who I meant to become. And I stayed focused on visualizing what that person was going to look like, what that person was going to smell like, what that person was going to dress like. And the more and more I focused on it, the more it started to become, the more I stopped doing the habits that were preventing me from becoming that person. And you need a little push. And sometimes you're not going to get that little push from somebody that's in your neighborhood. Sometimes that little push is going to come from the man that's in the mirror or the woman that's in the mirror, AKA yourself. How do you get to that point? You start with visualizing the person that you want to step into, the person that you want to become. And this right here becomes your power in a world full of doubters who are trying to bring you down. Develop the visualization skill in order to visualize who you're meant to become so you can step in to who you're meant to become.
Your goal could be completely different. It could be to finally start that business, to get a raise at work, to save $10,000. And whatever your goal is, it's important to do a few steps. For me, the more small goals that I've hit, in turn, the more money I have earned. And that seems to be true with very many areas of earning money. You have to create a goal that is achievable to up your skills, to save money, whatever it is, and then write that goal down, share it with somebody, get an accountability partner, have a specific time frame that's laid out, and have actionable things that you can actually do.
We all know the poisons that we're allowing in our life. You know that poison is still poison no matter how you try to justify it. You can read me 100 court cases that says that weed does not impact the lungs. You having one shot of alcohol an afternoon actually helps you reduce your stress. At the end of the day, you know deep down in your heart that poison is still poison, and poison is another excuse that you give yourself from holding you back from who you're meant to become. And it's a shame that we all allow very little amounts of poison into our life, and we let that become the reason why we don't accomplish what we're meant to accomplish. We let it become the crutch, the excuse around why we're not doing the things that we should be doing. Poison is poison no matter how you look at it. Until you're able to develop the mental toughness to kick the poison that you're putting in your body on a daily or sometimes a weekly basis, you will be limited, you will be capped on your ability to excel and to reach your full potential. It's just how it works, right? God put your body together in a very specific way. And if you put poison into it, you are hurting your ability to achieve who you're meant to become.
For the 1930s, most of American society thought about shopping as a way to get necessities and maybe a present once in a while. Items were actually bought because they were needed, and they were used until you actually couldn't use them anymore. Now, this was until Edward Bernays came along. He also invented breakfast, true story. He is considered like the father of public relations and really created a lot of the consumerism that we have going on today. He changed the narrative on women smoking, making sure that it was seen in a positive light. He also got doctors to recommend bacon as part of a healthy breakfast. And most importantly, how we shop. Cars used to be bought for practical purposes, and you'd only upgrade to a family car because you needed the space. However, he kind of changed the way cars were sold and really made them become a symbol of wealth and status, that you needed to upgrade because your old one is worse and you deserve this. Ever since then, we've had a major problem with consumption addiction, always wanting to earn newer, better, more expensive things. We just start comparing ourselves with others and really stopped thinking about the long-term effects of buying things and instead just focus on the short-term dopamine high of clicking the buy it now button. Now, while earning more money is important, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, it's also just as important to learn how to save money, specifically to know how much is going in, how much is going out, where it's going, how many subscriptions you have. For a lot of people, the answer is not more money. It's spending less than we're earning and not getting caught up in lifestyle inflation and really focusing on saving money without a specific reason. A lot of people will save money so that they can spend it on something, but it's important to have just a saving money mindset because that will create a world of opportunities and a ton of freedom down the road. We all know the coffee or latte factor, that if you spend $250 a day on coffee, it'll be like $900 at the end of the year, which I'm not saying don't buy coffee. I buy nice coffee, but I also don't spend money on a million other things. So those few things that I really love to do and enjoy doing, I could spend a little bit of money on. But if you are living paycheck to paycheck and you can cut out 5 different things that are costing you $2 a day, that's thousands of dollars at the end of the year just for making a few small decisions over a long period of time. And that's how you start to change your life.